Davey, let's start with the basics. How did you get to know the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God? Well, Daniel, my family, the Vieira family, they got to know the Universal around the year 1981. My father was the first to know the Universal. My whole family got to know the institution. Then my grandmother and my uncles came, who became pastors. My father was the first to arrive. He was a worker before I was born, a worker at the Universal and a volunteer. He is the one who does not receive any remuneration. He is the one who works bringing people to the institution, doing the campaigns, helping in the meetings. So my father was the first because he was invited at the time. The Universal, at the beginning of its creation, it was known as the so-called Church of Miracles, right? Let's put it this way, the Church of Miracles. So it was called like that at the beginning, the Church of Miracles, the church where the exorcism sessions took place. So it drew a lot of attention from people at the time. There were those supposed incorporated entities. So it drew attention. There was a new church there and such. And a neighbor of my grandmother invited, let's go to this church and such. My father went there and was the first to meet. My father is the oldest brother, and he, the oldest son, arrived. And my uncles also came. He became a worker, and my uncles went further. I have two current uncles from the Universal Church today who are bishops of the Universal, and one of them was a former bishop at that time. So my father came in, and it was through my father, my mother, that I started at the institution since I was a child. And I went through the stages, I went through the sectors. I will put it like this with these words of the institution, the school. I went with the children, the teenager, until I was also placed as a volunteer. Because like the whole family of the Universal, we learned with that ideology, that way of being called Christian at that time. So that's how I basically met the Universal Church. I interviewed Nete and Lini recently on the channel, who are former workers, also Tati. There were 3 former workers who have passed through here on the channel with their reports, their experiences, and one of them told that in this little school, I don't know if it's a Sunday school, it's called IBI, it's a biblical school. It's not a children's school, but that's what it was called. Right. Would the children be encouraged, stimulated to give a childlike something like that? Did that happen? Yes, but in fact, what happens is that the Universal institution, I want to make it clear, as I said before, the focus is that people seek knowledge. The Universal, it does a kind, today it works through a religious syncretism. It mixes everything that is attractive, everything that is important, to make it look like a Christian institution. So since childhood, children are taught to be contributors. They are taught that the way they give to God, God will give. So the bargaining system, the system of exchange of faith, that the child has to, since he was little, you have to make your offer, you have to take part of your money that daddy gives, that mommy gives. So this also happens in the little schools. I was a child at the time. I was also a child of a worker. And the whole family, the Universal, took care of children when I started to grow a little more. So I was a worker, a Miriam, who called himself, took care. So everything I did was because I learned. I learned to see Christianity the way Edir Macedo teaches today in his way of working. So in the little schools, this is taught. The teachers do this because this is what they are ordered to do. That children learn to be devout of a system, of a form of donation. And I believe that even today, this should, although I was not in the institution, I must have a few years, but it is the same work. Unfortunately, it is the same work.